everybody. Welcome to First Glance with Jody, Vance. Very excited to reconnect with a friend of ours here. Azincourt Energy Corporation is the name of the company, and Alex Klenman is with us. Of course, he is the president, CEO, and director of the company. And you're coming to us from HQ, right, Alex? Where are you?
Well, yeah, HQ, post-pandemic HQ.
Look at the bookshelf. I'll give you a 10 out of 10 on Room Rater for sure.
Thank you.
It's good to catch up with you here, and there's a bunch of news that you have to share, and certainly top of mind. Let's not leave the elephant in the room for later, because resources since we last spoke have become such an incredibly hot topic with what is happening on the Russian war in Ukraine. Yeah. Now, we don't need to get into the politics of it. We don't need to, in fact, we send our thoughts to those who are struggling in that midst for sure. But the corporate side, the reality of resources right now, and the need for companies like yours to provide some of the most difficult to acquire, shall we say? Give us an update on where we're at.
Yeah, no, that's a really good entry, and I think it's important for people to realize. Yes, the war in Ukraine has created some issues in the uranium space, primarily because of Kazakhstan and the Russians and how much they supply to the world. So that's changed, obviously, and I think it has had an impact on the spot price. We're above $60. We were as high as $64.50. I think it's come back a little bit, but it's still in 64 and change. So very healthy, but that in and of itself, I mean, we still have supply deficits, and we still have a lot of contracts that need to be signed. And that spot price, this just added more pressure to what was already a volatile situation in terms of the spot price.
So if people are going to track along, obviously they need to know your stock symbol. So let's get that out there as well. It's AAZ.V on the Toronto Venture Exchange. Yes. AAZ.V if you're watching from the United States or listening from elsewhere. AAZ.V is how you follow along, Azincourt Energy Corporation. Now let's talk about some of the properties and some of the news. Before we get to the news, let's update people who maybe didn't see our first discussion back in December. Give a little lay of the land, if you will.
Yeah, well, Azincourt is we're an exploration stage uranium company. We have two projects in the Athabasca Basin, which is really ground zero for high-grade uranium deposits. We have two projects. One is 25,000 hectare East Preston project. We own the majority. We're a little shy of 75% on that, and we're earning up to 75% of something called Hatchet Lake, which is in the northeastern side of the basin. So we have two active projects, both exploration stage, but we're a very well-funded, institutionally supported pre-discovery drill company, which is really rare. We have 28 different funds who've invested in the deal. We have $13 million in the bank, and we still haven't hit the big drill hole, which is quite a rarity to have this type of institutional support at this phase of our development.
How do you explain that level of support? Why?
Yeah. Two things. Obviously, the space is number one. The macro picture is very positive. The funds want to deploy into the space. They typically lead the charge into a space that's getting hot. So that's number one. But number two, just the right time and the right exploration projects. We think impactful discovery is imminent. Particularly East Preston, and it's always good in a serious bull market to have a good position in a company at this stage, and I think that's helped too. They do their due diligence, technically speaking. They looked at the project. They believe that we're close to, and that's the only reason. I mean, listen, we just raised $5 million before the drill results have come out. They got a whiff of some of the things that we're finding through what we released a month and a half ago, and there's an alteration zone that we've drilled into. That's a really important technical factor when you're looking for uranium. So they really like that. They offered $5 million. We took it, and because it's odd and it's rare in this business for funds to make investments of that size while we're waiting for drill results.
Right.
They're not waiting for the drill results. They've given us the money. Again, like I mentioned, we have $13 million in the bank, and we're happy. That puts us in a position of strength.
Very, very good position. Again, AAZ.V on the Toronto Venture Exchange, Azincourt Energy Corporation, and we're with Alex Klenman, who is wearing all the hats, president, CEO, and director. When it comes to from the investor who maybe doesn't know a lot about this space, clean energy for many is where they want to direct their investing, right? Moving forward, when we're talking about, okay, ethical investing, and one doesn't often think, oh yeah, mining's ethical, right? But here we are in a place, in a space that we need these materials.
We do. And it's very funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I get in debates all the time with people about clean energy and what is and what isn't. And yes, uranium has issues in terms of, the lifespan of spent product and that type of thing. But it is a carbon-free footprint. The people who complain about that, who complain about uranium yet are driving their combustible vehicles, there's an issue there. And I'm not here to tell people what to do and what to say. Obviously not. But there is a bit of hypocrisy floating around here. And again, even if you want to go to solar and wind, the energy that's generated must be stored, and it's stored in lithium batteries, which you still have to mine the lithium. So we can't get away from it. It is the world we live in. This isn't 2000 BC where we can avoid these things. It's the reality of the world we live in.
We're not the Flintstones, for sure. No. Okay, so let's get into the process of completing a share consolidation. What's the investor impact in that?
Yeah, so what we did, look, we had 565 million shares out, which is a lot of stock, and it creates a logjam. So when we move a half penny or a penny between 6.5 and 8 cents, that's typically 10, 20, 30 million shares of movement. It's a lot of heavy lifting. We were content with that. We were fine with that. But when this additional 5 million came onto the table, I thought, okay, now is the time. We're heading into the spot's going to likely be 75, 80, 85, 90, maybe 100 before too long. There's going to be a massive rush of new investors coming into the space. And for us to be taken seriously and to be seen as a quality investment, that was sort of the one pockmark, the one issue that people go, ooh, everything looks good. Institutionally supported, great projects, right place, right time. But I get a lot of stock out. Numbers scare people. So now a 2.5 to 1 is taking place. It actually implements tomorrow. We'll be down to 227 million. We think our market cap will remain the same or gain quicker with less ahead of us. Tomorrow is going to be a real funky day. And it's good timing here. Tomorrow being Thursday.
I was going to say, I just looked down. I'm like, of course, it's 4:20. It's when we're recording, it's 4:20. Right. So do the math. April 21st is going to be a day.
April 21st. Yeah. So there will all orders that were in the system today canceled. So we could wake up tomorrow. There could be no bids and no asks. It's really going to be weird until it all settles over the next few days. But we're confident that once it settles, our market cap will not only remain the same, but it'll probably gain, simply because there'll be less in the way. There's one road or two. If you have two roads to take, one has potholes and speed bumps, and one is smooth pavement, you're going to go on the smooth pavement. That's the road we've chosen.
You're going Autobahn. I dig it. Yeah. Okay. I just want to reiterate, AAZ.V is the symbol for Azincourt Energy Corporation. We're speaking with Alex Klenman, who's the president, CEO, and director of the company. There was some news at the end of last month, right? At the end of March, you were talking about the drill program.
Yeah.
Give us, unpack that a little for us.
Well, we went in and this was the biggest drill program that we'd ever done on the project. So we got about 19 holes done. We wanted to do more, but we went deep. Several holes went deep because of this alteration that we found. Now, alteration is sort of your big criteria to finding deposits. Alteration acts as a halo, typically around significant mineralization. Right. So we've run into approximately 1,700 meters, so almost 2 kilometers worth of this alteration, which is a large, it's big. So, that's success right then and there. We know that we're in the neighborhood. It's actually much more than we thought we'd see. And these are thick bands of alteration. We're talking 100 to 200 meters wide. So this is significant. It's going to help us hone in on where the drills are going to go next. Obviously, we're waiting for assay results, the geochemical results. What and if is in those cores are going to give us even more guidance. But it was certainly significant enough news where when we put out the initial sniff,
guys, you're all excited. The initial, sorry, yes, my dogs are barking. They're excited about the pressure washing that's going on a spring day. It's April 20th. That's right. Go back to what you were saying. I'm fascinated by this. No, I want it.
No, what that alteration did was when we put the first news out that we ran into alteration, that's really what triggered this last placement. So the fund said, listen, that's significant news. We want to put some chips on the table right now ahead of your
Right.
drill results, because the significance of that alteration is impactful. So
Yeah.
we're happy. We're heading towards discovery, which is the name of the game, and we couldn't be more pleased. Be really interesting to see what those assays give us. But we know where we're going to be. We're going to be drilling in those zones that we found the alteration. We're going to be drilling at Hatchet Lake. We're going to have a lot of drilling ahead of us. And again, we're extremely well capitalized with 13 million in the bank.
And 'tis the season, right, to get at her. We're coming out of COVID, if not heading towards what we all hope is the endemic. Not there yet, but certainly
Close.
things feel like they're starting to
Mhm.
normalize somewhat, even in a really abnormal environment, as we mentioned off the top with the war in Ukraine. But
Yeah.
it is that time of year as well that it gets busy in this space.
Yeah, no, and the only issue that we have really is that a lot of the uranium exploration is winter based in the Athabasca. You can do work in the summer, but you do have a lot more to worry about and to think about and be cognizant of, and that's local communities. First Nations are hunting, fishing, enjoying the land. Yeah.
Okay.
So don't want to disrupt too much of that. You typically back off in the summer months. A lot of the ground that we work has got water, rivers, lakes, ponds,
better
bogs,
frozen.
They're frozen. And so that's important that we work very hard to be in sync with local communities. And so we don't want to do too much work, but we will be doing some summer work. We're in the scoping that now to figure out what we're going to do with the summer months. We're really in the business of enhancing the drill targets we know exist. So we want to prove some of that up. Again, we're waiting for the assays at East Preston. That'll give us more guidance as to where we're going to be. But Hatchet Lake is in play next drill season as well. So we're in a good position. We got two cars in the driveway.
I love this because you're teaching me something, and I really appreciate that, Alex, because it's the piece of the puzzle that I've never thought to ask. And as an interviewer, as certainly as I've told you before, I'm not an expert in markets. I'm not an expert in mining. I am an expert interviewer, and that piece of the puzzle of not wanting to disrupt local communities. I mean, that's a big ethical piece, ever bigger, right? As there is, the awakening of cultural respect that perhaps might have not been in existence prior to this moment, that we're all trying to be a little better. And I think, as a company, that is refreshing that you lay that right on the table right here. I think I liked you before. I like you even more now.
Listen, it's not like we're trying to do that, but we're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's their backyard. It's not ours. And we're not going to go trudging around and piss people off and ruin relationships. This is a long game. And we need local communities. We hired them. 15% or so of the budget that we just spent at East Preston for this drill program went directly to people in the community. We hired people to come on board into the camp. We used different suppliers. So that's $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000 that went into that local community, and we're happy to do that. That's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
And that's
it's not a mandate. It's not a let's react to it. It's what you actually do.
Right. And we can do more. We can do more, and we will do more as we move along here. It's a partnership. And I think that's extremely important. And not just because of the reasons you mentioned, but it just has to be a guiding principle behind the company.
Right. And I think that it's important, it's refreshing, and it's topical. And when you say it out loud, as you did here unprompted, I have such great respect for that. And we're putting it out there. So anybody listening might be like, I wonder if my company is doing something. I wonder if we're, being mindful in this way. And I think that's yet another reason for a first glance listener or watcher to be like,
that's good. Yeah, I mean, listen, if I had some acreage, and I don't anymore, but if I did, and somebody was poking around on it, I'd want to work closely with them.
Right.
So very important that we see it that way. Yeah.
I love that. And I learned something. So I appreciate the education there. Drilling season. I'm learning things. All right. Well, is there any other thing that we can expect in the next while? What should we be looking for other than the obvious of what's happening in the next couple of days with regard to consolidation? But what are we expecting, or when might we talk next?
Yeah, there's two things here. Obviously the assay results come in probably sometime in the next 6 weeks. We don't have any idea when. It'll trickle in. We made released piecemeal. We may all release it all at once. I'm not sure yet. But I'm trying to tell people involved in the space who are shareholders of uranium companies, all you really need to do is sit. It doesn't matter what happens in a micro sense. The macro picture is going to carry a lot of this. As spot continues to rise, if we get to 70, 75, 80, 85, and then the Uber driver turns around and say, hey, I've got a uranium pick for you. Then you know, things have changed. And I think we're headed there, but let the boats rise in the tide. Don't be too concerned about the day-to-day.
Right.
It's a longer process here, but it's here. It's finally here. We know that. Just how high is it going to go? Yeah.
I love that. Again, stock symbol is AAZ.V on the Toronto Venture Exchange, of course. Azincourt Energy Corporation, Azincourt, AZIN Court. Azincourt is the place to go. Your website is?
Azincourtenergy.com.
Pretty simple. Alex, thanks for your time. I look forward to catching up soon.
Thank you, Jody. Always great to see you. Appreciate the time. Thank you.